Hello, everyone. It's February. Can you believe it? February the 1st. How are you, Kaye? Let's get that straight out of the bat.
I'm doing great. Happy Sunday to everybody. We already got a lot of tickers from two of our, regular watchers. So I'm writing that down.
Oh, yes. Man, Ram, and Money Managed back again. We appreciate your appearance. Obviously, we'll do the normal stuff at the beginning here. Obviously, it's not financial advice. We're just a couple of guys looking at charts, giving our perspectives, and just kind of generally enjoying the markets. So, obviously, just take our words not for gospel, just as entertainment. And of course, make sure you put your stock requests in the comments. We'll get to them in about 20 minutes or so. We've had, like Kay said, about six already.
Yeah.
Maybe a couple more, maybe somewhere else. But yeah, to get them in nice and early so we can have a look at those as soon as possible for you. And of course, massive thank you to Wolf Financial as well for letting us use the platform that we are currently streaming on, which we love every single week. Okay, so how was your trading last week, Kay? Was it active, or did you kind of sit back and relax?
Trading was amazing. We did the Apple trade that I posted the summary of the win,
I saw
85%
that.
win.
I saw
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
So it played exactly the same way that we had talked about it here on the earnings call on the Sunday live. Instead of the 10 wide spread, we used the 5 wide spread, and the reason was because the premiums were better for it. Simple. And we expected the it will not move as much as, and it exactly that happened, and that's it.
Awesome, fantastic. My trading was pretty good as well. I did do a lot. I did some on Thursday and the Friday using the Edge4 platform, which I love to do. And of course, just kind of managing swings throughout, taking a little bit of profits here and there where I can. But yeah, not a lot in terms of action. Just want to sit back and kind of watch what happened with the earnings. Obviously, we had some big earnings for the week. Had Microsoft, Meta, obviously Tesla as well, and obviously Apple, as you just mentioned. So plenty to get through today. As you can see on the screen at the moment, we've had the tickers, obviously Palantir, Grab, CoreWeave. Happy to go through those. APH once again, VRV and AMPK. I think that might be a new one perhaps.
Mhm.
And Raymond Sackler coming up with Rivian as well. I'm sure we've got some words on Rivian, as we always do. We were actually talking about before we came on the stream about Rivian and kind of a little bit on the chart, obviously the kind of fundamentals behind the company as well. So yeah, looking forward to getting into that. But for now, we will move on to the next slide, which is last week's market overview. So you can see it's quite mixed actually. Where should I start? I might start with Microsoft. That was probably the most dramatic one. It was 10 down, 10%, 11% day after earnings.
Yep.
Recovered some, or maybe had a bit of a good beginning of the week. So it's only kind of 5% down on the week. Meta up a massive 11% on the week with impressive earnings. And we've got Nvidia up 2%, Google up almost 2%, and Apple up 5%. And just above your head there, we've got Tesla down 4%, despite Thursday and Friday being pretty good. That's what it felt like. But I think it just dipped a bit too much early on in the week. Anything else pop up the page there for you?
Yeah, the AMD was almost down 10%. So
Oh, yeah,
that,
of course.
yeah, the big pullback. And I think apart from that, yeah,
Got
those.
Palantir down 12% here as well, with earnings coming out
Yeah,
tomorrow, which will be interesting. See if
exactly.
you can regain some of that. Maybe no one's brought up. I don't know. They do have Palantir. Yep, sorry.
We do
Yeah,
have
looking
that.
forward to getting into that. Yeah,
Yep, yep,
awesome.
yep.
Fear of greediness. We finally moved out of neutral. So we're at 58 now, just above neutral, kind of into greed. I think with one more week of earnings, there's a lot of big earnings this week. We've got AMD, I think it's this week, is that right?
Yep.
We'll have a look at that in a second, of course. Amazon as well. And I'm sure I've got Google as well, and a couple of other big names. So it's still another week of potential euphoria to come. Um, there's a lot of people calling for a big drop, but perhaps we'll get into that in just a second. Do you want to talk to the left side of the screen there?
Yeah, the put to call, we pretty much are in the same zero point 0.7 to 0.75 range. VIX has gone up a little bit. And I think that's primarily because of some of the geopolitical news that's happening around, and other events that are happening across the board. SPY, as you can see, was pretty flat. It was like 0.09, and similar with QQQ. So next week, things that we are going to focus on specifically to stock market is we still have a week of major earnings, a lot of mega caps and large cap companies reporting earnings, and then there from 2-3 to 2-5 we have a lot of job numbers coming out. So I think on 2/3 we on the second 3rd February we have Joel's number coming out. On the 4th February we have ADP numbers coming out. I think on the 5th we have non-farm payroll data coming out, and so a lot of job numbers are going to come out. Every news outlet is going to report it, in a specific way. So you may see some movement or some sort of volatility across the board, depending on whether the job data is soft, um, and that will eventually decide how things are going to be perceived by the market.
Yeah, nothing too new then. Lots of volatility. We had lots of volatility last week. You can see it's reflected in the SPY completely flat. So I think we touched on that last week actually, Kay. It could be quite a volatile week, but also not really moving, very far. And we've got exactly that. Obviously, some of the moves were more or less than what we thought, but that's just the market and how we move on.
Yeah.
We move on to the earnings then. We've got lots to go through in this particular slide. I'll pay attention to kind of bigger names as you can go through some of the smaller names perhaps. So we've obviously got after close on Wednesday, we've got Alphabet. After close on Thursday, we've got Amazon there. And of course, after close on Tuesday, we've got AMD. And I'm guessing now Palantir is technically a big name. So after close on Monday as well. Plenty more kind of tickers to kind of go through. Ones that kind of appeal to me. End phase here on after close on Tuesday, Snapchat after close on Wednesday, because I quite like that long term. So it'd be interesting to see what they say. But yeah, anything pointing out to you? Okay.
Yeah, I think you covered AMD.
Yes,
Um,
just about.
so SMCI is going to be the next one that I am focused
Oh yeah,
on. Uber. Uber is another one. Qualcomm, ARM. I don't play. I don't spend too much time on ARM, but Qualcomm is something that I generally trade often. And then on Thursday, I'll be focused on IREN, Affirm. Then I think if you remove our faces, there is Atlassian,
yeah,
and and
just above
I
us.
yeah, and I don't see the one underneath, and Reddit. Sorry, we did bring Reddit, so Reddit is going to be another one that we'll be focused on.
Yes, we've got MicroStrategy is here as well.
Yes, that's your
Some people
favorite.
like that.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
there's lots of volatility surrounding that one. That's for sure. I'm not sure Michael Saylor is having a very good weekend either. Bitcoin dipping down below 80K.
yeah.
um, for the first time in a while. And yeah, we've got Walt Disney actually before the open on Monday, so it'll be interesting to see how they're kind of building. Other names here, we've got PayPal. What else have we got? That's Eli Lilly's quite a bit popular name. But yeah, just so many earnings, and obviously there's a ton more earnings that are not actually on this graphic here that are obviously a bit lower down, but perhaps they're kind of in your portfolio. So do have a look at your portfolios, have a look at your names. I mean, you should be on that anyway, but have a look at those names and see if they're reporting earnings in the next couple of weeks because it could just change the outlook of your portfolio.
And
Okay.
before you jump to the next slide, what I was saying is, like, if Snap actually has a meltdown this time around, I think I'm gonna probably get into the leaps for snaps.
Yeah, it depends what they say, I think, on the earnings call. So I think I might, if I'm around, I think I should be around. So I think I'm around, I might actually stream the earnings call
Okay.
on the YouTube channel. So yes, stick around for that if you're watching, any viewers. But yeah, that'll be interesting to see because obviously it's my pick for the year.
Yes.
In a live stream we did about a month ago. So yeah, looking forward to that. My other pick of the year was Grab. Did they report earnings this week? Not sure.
No, no, not
No.
this week.
Okay.
At least I didn't see it this week.
Okay. Right, we'll move on to the charts then. First charts of the day, we've got SPY Daily on the left, QQQ Weekly on the right. Now, where do I start? Thursday and Friday, obviously after the earnings, after what was it, Microsoft, Meta, and Tesla earnings, we had this bar came down, obviously fairly early, and came back up with a nice hammer, and a similar sort of price action on Friday actually with post Apple earnings. Just so much volatility within the market. Day traders must be loving this. But yeah, the main thing is we're kind of holding this moving average. This top line of the cloud here is the moving average, 20 moving average. I mean, the bottom one is 100, just for context. But I like to have it in a cloud because it just looks a bit more solid in terms of momentum. So yeah, I mean, as it stands, the kind of trend is your friend, kind of flowing up. See if we can make all-time highs in next week or so with all these earnings coming through. But yeah, looking at the QQQ, similar sort of story, but we do have a bit of a hammer candle to the downside. But we have the support of the previous Fibonacci lines I've drawn and the volume profile. So there's plenty to kind of get behind in terms of the support. So there's still, in my eyes, plenty of upside to be had. But what are your thoughts on these people coming out saying there's going to be? It's always like this, but people coming out and saying there's going to be a massive crash because of
Well,
large technicals kind of coming into play, which I
I think
understand.
that's the whole point. When everybody is calling for a crash, generally that doesn't happen. And
I
and
advise.
and I am like, from my perspective, is if you are trading you're trading at a given point in time. There's no point in predicting. If it happens, it happens, right? If it crashes, it crashes. What are you gonna do about it? If it crashes, like, right, you gotta have cash to, jump in for that trade. So you prepare enough cash to be prepared for trade. I mean, I really don't pay attention to these crashes and these doom. It's a doom and gloom situation. If it happens, it happens, man. How many times people have called for crashes, and how many times you have really had crashes?
Do you, in this sort of situation where people are calling for crashes more, do you hold more cash on the sideline just in case, or do you generally hold cash on the sidelines anyway?
So if, because I am primarily an option seller, I do have to hold cash because I have to continuously sell options. And so if you end up with a lot of positions tied up with cash, then you won't be able to take advantage of the dips. Now I will tell you this: if you have been trading or you have been selling options for last couple of months, you will have might have noticed that the market is a little bit of a volatile. It's not, there is not, like, the market is going up, but the euphoria is not there. So there's a little bit of like a hesitation in the market. So what that also impacts with option selling a lot. um, and I have seen the generally January is a slow month. And February is like similar in terms of option selling. I look at my data from the last couple of years, and I've generally January is a slow month, except last year when that was an election year. Not election year, but the inauguration was happening, so there was a lot of euphoria and the market was just going up. So we actually ended up having, it was the third best month for me for 2025. But this month has been the past January was a little bit tricky to navigate. So TLDR, basically I do keep a lot of cash considering the type of trades I do on option selling.
Nice. I'm sure a lot of people watching take a lot of value from that. Hold your cash at all times. Maybe not massive percentages, but obviously it depends where the market is.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
I don't know what percentage you want to say, like, but at least I do hold 20%, 25% cash,
yeah,
because
so
sometimes
that's
these trades happen for a day itself, and that's why you need that cash. And also, because I use margin, I need to prevent any margin calls, especially during downturn. That's why I need to have a good amount of cash.
of course nice. Okay, we'll move on from this slide then, and we go to the head-to-head slide. This week you won once again, or last week should I say. Apple was up 3.21%, and Nvidia was up, but just not as much as Apple. So we had a couple of good picks there. This week I've got NIO, and you have got, what have you got, Kay?
Amazon.
Amazon, I did forget.
Amazon reports earnings, yes.
Yeah, we had delivery news for NIO today, so it could be interesting to see what happens tomorrow in the open. But yeah, obviously you can get us. Where can we find you, Kay? Mate? We'll let you go first.
You can find me on X, and if you want to know how that Apple trade happened, you can look at the last week's video, the recording, or as well as follow on the. I posted the entire idea. How did we get into the trade? Why did we took Aaron Condor and the results? So that was on X, and you can follow on YouTube and Substack.
Yeah, I must say it's very well broken down, that tweet. Even I understood it. So pretty good. For me, you can get me at Shaun Trades _ on X and YouTube, posting kind of relatively often content there, especially on YouTube, every video every week. Although I will be slowing down now. I normally do kind of lots of videos for December and January, kind of release monthly after that. So yeah, but there's still plenty of content there, whatever kind of part of the journey you are on. Okay, we'll move on to my stock of the week. And I've gone for NIO, and this is the monthly chart. And I've actually got something here that Kaye might be able to talk about, which is basically an options contract on the screen here. We'll talk about the delivery numbers first. So we'll skip over to this slide. So the delivery numbers came in this morning, obviously being the 1st of February. The delivery numbers come through on the 1st of every month. And you can see at the top there, we've had 20,000, almost 21,000 NIO deliveries, which reflects in the chart as this green bar. So compared to all the previous Januaries, it's over double the deliveries, which is great. It's got to be great for the momentum and, of course, obviously the revenue in the earnings report. We won't see that until Q2, but we did have a pretty good Q4 in 2025 as well with these orange bars here. So yeah, it's increasing. But we can see obviously the Onvo numbers, they were down slightly on last year. And the Firefly obviously wasn't in existence last year, so fresh numbers there for January. Not too worried about that though, because obviously the premium electric brand is the NIO brand, which is the green line, and obviously that will bring in the most money because they're more expensive vehicles. And I think that's a good point to make. So that's the deliveries kind of covered. We'll go back to the chart here. And it's okay. So this is the monthly chart as I mentioned, and we're kind of at the bottom of this kind of trend line, but we also have a lot of volume profile here. So I've
You
suggested
wanna,
here.
Sean? Do you want to remove us or move us on the back because I think folks can't see it.
Oh yes, of course I do.
Yeah,
My mistake. There you go. That'll do for now. Um, so just talking to the chart, as I mentioned, obviously we've got a bit of a trend line coming here for the monthly. It's not a perfect trend line, but it's a trend line that kind of roughly tracks the price action, of course. We do have the volume profile here on the right, which is really, really large. So it's building a quite nice base at around this kind of $4 to $5 level. Now, I'm not going to suggest any entry prices, but I'm going to, point out that there's a particular call that I'm interested in, and you can see that on the screen here. We'll zoom back in because we don't really need to see the chart now. Not in its entirety anyway. So we've got a $7 call for expiration of 21st of January 2028. So it's a leap option. It's out of the money, but it's something that's reflected on the chart here. So you can see the big box here is the expiry ending. So there's still plenty of time to kind of get there. I know you can't quite see it, but just imagine the stock is just behind Kaye. And basically, I'm aiming for $10 and kind of halfway through, maybe 6 months to the end of the contract. If it's reached $10 by then, I think that's pretty good return, depending on what I am. But yeah, what are your thoughts on the options contract and perhaps maybe on NIO in general, Kaye?
No, I think in general, I think you probably have a better idea on Neo per se, and from a delivery standpoint. As long as the deliveries are increasing across the board, I think the future looks bright. Especially like with Canada also now opening up as a market for Chinese EVs. I think we may see, Neo probably foraying in there at some point in time. Maybe not this year, maybe in a couple of years. So that opens another market for Neo. At least that's a speculation. And I think from a call standpoint, so this is out of the money call, which means that you'll have to wait for for those moves to happen before you actually break even and get into the profit zone.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you have about 2 years on this, so there is a high likelihood that you will end up with a profit on this leap. Now, question really comes down to is what profit exit do you want to get out from a option standpoint, because options, they generally you like 100% on a leap is not a problem, right? That can happen very quickly. So how do you want to manage that? Or second is, do you want to buy in the money leap versus out the money leap? So those are some of the decisions that generally people think about, especially when it comes to buying leaps. um, can you tell me what delta this is if I can't see it?
I'll zoom in and touch. The
It's
delta
so
is
61.
61. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's quite low, but
61. So I mean, yeah, I mean the chance of it is not bad, honestly. I would say that. So um you could wait for a pullback day and then buy on the $7 call. That's also a possibility.
so I think the kind of aim that I have, as I just mentioned, kind of at the end there, is kind of to be at least 10 by the end of the contract. At the worst case
Well, then
scenario,
you'll be in the money,
and
and
that's
then
and that's the curve we have here. So it's all
exactly,
green,
yeah,
and the break even, as you kind of mentioned before the stream, actually is $8.60.
yeah,
So the break even, as long as it gets to 860 in the next 2 years, then we're doing okay.
correct. Now keep in mind that generally for leaps, when you're at the 6 month to expiration, you should start to
Yeah,
really make a decision whether you're going to roll the leap or you're going to exit out of the leap, because as the months will go by, gets closer to the expiration, especially in the last 90 days, you will start to lose a lot of value from the,
it's the
yeah,
spot
as you
rule,
can
isn't it?
see, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, it's a good point there for any leap option traders out there. I'm fairly new to leaps options. I've started basically month. Last month is in December, not January.
Yeah,
So yeah, I'm fairly new to them, but I'm kind of doing a lot of research. I bought one on Grab, as I mentioned to UK during the week. If you're interested in understanding what that was, just DM me or put it in the comments here, and then I'll do a post maybe on that
Yeah,
during the week. I'm looking forward to doing that. But yeah, that's my call option. That I'm not in it yet, but I'm just curious. I want to see how the
considering.
price action
Yeah.
matures this week,
Well,
and I'll go
because
from
you know what
there.
you can do is if you're not in there and if you see some sort of a pullback next week, you can even go to a $6 call or a
Yeah,
$5 call because it starts to get cheaper, right? Um,
exactly.
consider all
The open interest for this is 22,000 as well. So
exactly.
people they're interested in it. So
Yep.
that's a good sign.
Yep.
Okay, we'll move on to your pick of the week, which is
Amazon.
Amazon.
Yeah. So I know that Wolf's logo is right at
Oh,
that.
I'll take it away for a second.
Cool. Thank you. So this is going to be a very similar play to Apple. Nothing fancy. We are now. I'm considering the trade that I'm proposing here is an iron condor, but I could also go put credit depending upon how the week proceeds. But generally, the idea is simple. Idea is that the market overestimates the move by 62% every single time, right? So there's a high probability they will overestimate the move again. So we are looking at somewhat of a actual move about 7.3% implied to actual move, which is so the range would be what 221 to 257 is that's where the stock price should be moving. So you can use those as your the barriers or the condors here. If you're going iron condor or if you are going a put credit spread, I would only look for a I I don't want to go with the call credit spread because if the direction is positive, right, they could easily break that because it could happen, right? From an Amazon's perspective, it's been one of those laggards in the Mag 7. So I don't want to um, go with a call credit spread because I could probably lose on that trade. Same thing can happen with Iron Condor also. That's why I'm kind of considering right now is if Iron Condor is a better idea or a put credit spread. I'll probably post an update on X before I enter the trade, but the idea is similar to Apple. We are actually not worried about how which side the direction will move. We just want to make sure that we take advantage of the theta decay that happens very quickly right after the earnings move because it's reporting earnings on Thursday. So you enter basically around 1 hour before close or 45 minutes before close or 30 minutes, whatever. And then you see the earnings report. And as soon as the market opens on Friday, you pretty much exit out of the position. So yeah, so that's pretty much it. And from a technical standpoint, we can look at all the technical and stuff, but bottom line is this is going to be earnings. It's a binary event. As long as it stays in the range, we win with an condor. If you go with a put credit spread, as long as it doesn't go down, you'll be fine. But that's the idea.
Yeah, I think for me, I've got it's probably I think it's third or fourth highest position in my portfolio. Amazon, and I see a lot of potential in it for this year. Obviously, it's a bit of a laggard, as you probably mentioned in previous streams as well, especially last year. This year is not doing too badly, of course. Bouncing off nicely. Obviously, I'm a bit more of a technical trader. Bouncing off nicely here on the 20 and the 50 minute average. I think that is 100.
Yes.
That's 100.
Yes. So you,
And the
you got a 300 is a blue, 50 is a yellow, red is a 100.
Yeah, okay. So there's some good support underneath there.
Yep.
We've got some nice higher lows kind of going into this earnings report, which is nice to see. One thing I am quite apprehensive about is, of course, the kind of lower highs. So we've got a high up here,
Yep.
which is all-time high back in what was that November, turn of November. Another lower high, lower high here.
Yeah.
So a bit of a wedge kind of forming. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do before earnings. Whether I trim the position because it's in profit, which is nice. Whether I trim the position and kind of lower my risk going into earnings, and perhaps add it back. If it has to be at a higher price and the earnings look good, then so be it. But yeah, I think 7% is implied move is quite a lot, isn't it?
It is. It
With
is.
all
It
the
is. Yeah.
impacts net worths out there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's going to be a decision I'm going to have to make probably the day before. But yeah, I mean, it looks good, feels good. Amazon's going the right way, but they're laying off as well, aren't they?
So there are two updates on Amazon. One is, of
Yeah.
course, the whole layoff is happening, and the second update on Amazon is that they have shut down as of today, which is February 1st, all their Amazon Fresh stores across United States and Amazon Go stores. So we actually had an Amazon Fresh store right near our in our neighborhood, and it closed down as well. So yep.
Yes, it's going to be interesting. I like. I like Amazon, yeah, for sure, and I like your idea of kind of Iron Condor. Don't hugely understand it. Obviously, I'm not an options trader, but I'm sure a lot of viewers will take a lot of value from your words and your presentation you brought to us today. Okay, we'll move on, shall we?
Oh yeah, yeah. Let's move on.
Well, actually, no, we're into charts now, aren't we?
Yeah,
We
next one
have
is
a lovely
talent.
comment from
uh,
Justin. He's
Justin,
back.
long
Good
time no
day,
see.
guys.
Yeah,
Hello, Justin. How are you? Lots of stocks to go through, Justin. If you want any stocks to be looked at, I don't know if you've put it on X. Sometimes you put it on X. But if you want any stocks looked at, stick it in the comments as always. So let me get my charts ready. Okay, here we go. First up, what's first
Palantir.
up?
Palantir is
Palantir.
the first one. Yeah.
Earnings tomorrow.
Yep.
This is the daily chart. We can see the last 4 days. In fact, the last 5 days have all been red. Big red week. We said about what 12%, I think it was at the top of the show. 12% down last week, breaking this low. We've got this low next to break. But of course, we had the earnings tomorrow, so it's hard to talk about technicals. If we break that to downside, then we'll probably be looking at least until 120, that sort of area. Yeah, 123. I'll draw a bit of a zone here. Does this interest you at all, Kay? Because obviously now it's kind of falling. Perhaps we get maybe a mixed report, potentially tomorrow. It's obviously hypothetical.
Yeah.
Does this stock interest you at all for the future, or do you think it's kind of gone in
I,
your repertoire?
so I know that there are huge Palantir fans, but my main concern is with Palantir, considering this is such a massive $334 billion company, market cap company, and you're only producing a revenue of $1.1 billion.
Yeah,
That
so
part
there's a lot
I
of
still don't get. And I know, and I don't research Palantir that much. I just go with the flow to make money on it. But I don't really enjoy Palantir stock per se that much. I bought it because you guys recommended it, and I was happy with my position. But I still don't understand how can you still make 1.1 billion with a $335 billion market cap.
it's pricing in the future, though, isn't it?
I mean, yes, but when is the future going to actually arrive?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. If it's priced in the future already, then that kind of counteracts the price action now, doesn't it? Which is why we're seeing a bit of a flat price action for the last 7 months, eight
I mean,
months
yeah,
almost.
yeah, because it hit its all-time high of 213 on November. No, so it's a pretty recently actually. November 3rd they hit 213 or 4th, something like that. Yeah, 3rd and 4th. So it's pretty.
I just wonder what investors will be thinking. So if they're, if they're in $7, $10 price action, they shouldn't be worried about anything
Yeah, I
all the way
mean,
down here. But people that got in maybe around 120, 125, they might be thinking, oh,
yeah. See,
what's going on here?
I think the OGs of Palantir, right? The retail investors who are the real OGs of Palantir, they are sitting nicely on their big gains. It's the people who are over here at the 160s and 150s range is probably they'll be worried more about it. People who have a cost basis of 20, 30, 40, 50, they are not worried what's going on. Yeah, you can have a $10 pullback. That's fine.
Yeah, this is the monthly chart. So we've got a big kind of bearish engulfing now on a monthly. It's tricky to kind of do monthly TA on stocks like this because obviously they're quite volatile, of course. But it's just worth noting. Perhaps maybe there's some downturn, coming up.
And, and if you notice, like it's a free falling knife right on the daily. If you look at it, I mean, I'm not you. If you don't want to touch any other SaaS stocks because of that, then you should stay away from it. At least entering the position at this point in time.
Yeah, I definitely won't be taking a position here. There's a lot of technicals here. I mentioned it a little bit earlier. I'm primarily a technical trader. The technicals don't line up here at all for Palantir, but I'm guessing people will be interested. Okay, Shaun, well, where would you look to buy it? And I kind of mentioned it earlier. Perhaps that kind of 120, 125, depending on what the earnings say. If they're still on the same sort of trajectory for the future,
Yeah.
and of course, if we do get that price action come down to 120, 125, then perhaps it could be a longer term position started there. But still, I've been hurt by this stock once before, and I say hurt. I made a lot of money on it, but I just didn't make as much money as other people. But I've been hurt from it before, so it's hard to kind of go back. It's like going back to one of your exes. Just no, it's not a thing.
Listen, people have
Anyway,
made 5 figures, 6 figures, 7 figures on Palantir, so there's money to be made. Anyways, move on to next. Grab. That's your pick of the year.
it is. Yeah, Grab. I like Grab. It's not doing so well either, which is a shame. I bought $4 calls at the beginning, kind of midweek. Kaye, I spoke to you about it.
Yeah.
Of course, you're my options go-to man. So I spoke to you about it, and I like where it is in terms of a chart. I know it doesn't look great, especially on the daily, but of course, here on the weekly, from a longer-term standpoint, we've obviously got the beginning of this kind of channel move back in August of 2024. Came back down, responded fairly well off the bottom line. It came back down below it, which is why I don't really mind this price action here. Came down below it and kind of moved up afterwards. What I am looking forward to is the earnings that have been scheduled for a couple of weeks' time. So not next week, but the week after.
Yes,
So
211.
looking forward to seeing what happens there. Basically, from a technical point of view, I wanted to get back up to back up to, but $7 to $750 in the next year or so, and then I'll start thinking about either taking profits with those calls, or obviously rolling them to maybe extend them, whatever. Yeah, that's my thoughts on Grab. What are your thoughts on Grab?
No, I think it pretty much aligns with what your thoughts are on Grab. Is I think we are waiting for the earnings, right? And we don't want to see any misses on top line or bottom line. I think if we see any misses, let's say this way, the market is less forgiving for stocks like these compared to stocks like Tesla or others, right?
Less forgiving is a very nice way of putting it.
Yeah.
It's going to be down 10-15% is what it's trying to say.
Yeah.
But we like Grab. Both of us, we like Grab. Obviously, it's one of my stocks of the year alongside Snapchat, as we mentioned earlier. Obviously, it's not great in terms of price action, but of course, that's why we look at these leap options, because this is the time to buy. When it's kind of red, it's moving negatively, but you still believe in the company. That's when you have that long-term outlook. You want to purchase that leap option, and you kind of go from there. Okay, let's move on.
CoreWeave.
This is your one, this one.
Yeah, I mean, starting to show some, I guess, life back in the stock. I'll be fully transparent. I hold decent amount of CoreWeave, and mostly because my positions were stuck since we entered. So I did take advantage for the latest run up to sell those calls to quickly, free up the cash. But I think my thesis behind Grab is simple. Because Nvidia is investing in it, I do not see how they're going to go under. And I still believe, like, long term, there's a very good opportunity for Nvidia. If Nvidia wants to own everything, top to bottom, they might buy out CoreWeave at some point in time. Again, this is speculation. I'm just speculating on this one.
You're kind of almost insinuating it kind of makes sense.
It makes sense, exactly. But the problem with all NIO data center is that the capex, the amount you have to put in to build these massive data centers. But Nvidia provides those chips to CoreWeave exclusively. They get the first, just like NBIS or IRN, IREN. CoreWeave is I know their structure is not that great compared to NBIS, but I think I'm mostly following where the money is moving. It's like Nvidia is investing in it. That's my core thesis. Could be completely wrong, but that's what I'm following.
I think it's a good thesis to have. Looking at the chart here, you might be wondering what this circle is. That's where I took profit on my last trade. Full profits. I took the whole thing in the end. So I had a break of the trend line here, entered just above here on the smaller time frames, took the profits here, which I don't really need that anymore, to be fair. But I like where it is. It's come back down from the trend line, which of course we've had that drawn for quite some time now. It's come back down to basically the crossover of moving averages, a bit of volume here, previous high here, and a couple of supports here back in August of last year, but nothing too concrete. That sort of level. So we could see it come down to 88. perhaps obviously we're at 93 now, so it could be a little bit more downside. But I think you're right. I do like this one longer term. We've got a bit of a trend line here actually as well.
Yeah, there are just too
What's the
many
trend
trend
saying?
lines happening on this. Like there's too many lines, so because of core weave.
Yeah, but you know, sometimes these stocks do kind of trade to the trend lines and stuff like that. So it's worth putting down onto your charts as long as you can manage the kind of the views of them. But I like it where it is now. Yeah, okay, I'm gonna write that one down. I like that one. Who brought that one up?
That was
Man,
Manram.
of course. I feel like he just puts tickers up that he think I might write down. Um, pretty good at that. Okay, let's move on to
APH.
APH.
Yeah.
We've had this one a few times, and we had
Yeah.
this. I think what was it last week? Actually, last week,
Last week and I think a couple of weeks before that.
according to my notes here. So we've had earnings on Wednesday of last week. It looks like we had a bit of a pump into earnings as we saw, and then subsequently dropped on earnings, but also kind of recovered at this top of the previous parallel channel. And then perhaps we're coming back down to retest it again, kind of 140. I didn't get into this. This is just a hypothetical position that I've drawn on the screen here, but I don't hate it. I'd have to look into the actual results. I didn't even realize, I forgot they were even reporting earnings, to be honest. But higher lows, which is always a good sign, as we've spoken about a few times. What are your thoughts on this stock? Would you get into this longer term, perhaps?
APH. Yeah. So I'm actually this is part of my watch list that I am actually tracking for selling options on. It's getting interesting for me personally. It's right at the so I, generally for newer stocks that I don't know that well, I use the Bollinger Band to enter positions, and also the trend line. So I'm still researching on it on what's the right level, but it's on my watch list. I pretty much am tracking it on a regular basis. I would like it to be somewhere in the 144, 138, 144. Those were the previous highs, and that's where. Let me also pull up the one second. Let me see this. So the point, yes, so that's where exactly the point of control is. So that's where I would like to enter the position, which will be what about 5% down for a wheel, and that falls right at the middle of the Bollinger Band as well for selling options. And you get
Awesome.
decent, and you get a decent IV on this one, 46%. So not too great, but not too bad either.
I imagine volume is probably increasing as of
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
yeah. So
Volume,
we've got
volume
that
is
in the last
increasing.
5 days. Yeah,
Yep,
we've got that on your side as well. Okay.
yep. Next is VIAV. This one I've never heard of.
We've had it before on here.
VRV solution. Okay. What do
Yeah,
they?
we have what, and, we've drawn a line here by looks of it, which is 15% up, which it actually subsequently did do. Uh, with support down here at 1750, but actual support more like 17. I like a stock that plays to exact numbers. That's really good.
Okay.
Anyway, that's not important. But if we get a bit of a downside action here to, let's say 23, it depends how long it takes to get back to this line. That would be good to kind of bounce off of in terms of trend lines. But of course, if we do get even further downside action, of course, the gap fill down here makes a lot more sense. And all the time that's happening, and these moving averages will come up behind it, so that won't be too bad. But clearly, the earnings were good, which happened also on Wednesday, just like APH. Yeah, seeing where it goes from here, I wouldn't be buying it here because obviously
Yep.
it's post earnings reaction is very positive. Of course, it can keep going. It can go to 20, 29, 30. But yes, it's hard. It's tough to buy that with no support underneath.
Yep. No, I agree with you. I think it's best to wait for the gap fill to finish, and then maybe start to add that in position, or consider from there, because right now the point of control is in the 17, and this gap. Because if you look at the previous gap, they haven't actually filled the previous gap either. If you look from the
Oh yeah, so that's the gap I've got drawn now already.
right, so they have not filled that gap either. So that's interesting.
Gaps to be filled.
You're absolutely
Okay,
fair. I mean that.
interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about the stock yet, but from a long-term perspective, if you ever get back into that range of that gap fill, that's like a 40% down from today's prices.
Yeah, but it's going to have to be something that drives that, whether it be overall market or perhaps some news for future earnings.
Yep.
That will all have to be considered within that position.
Yep.
Okay, let's move on.
Next is AMPK.
Hmm,
Is
don't
that
have that. Money
AM?
manage, is that the right ticker symbol? AMPK.
Yeah, that's what I see there. AMPK. Okay, while we wait for Money Manage to respond, let's move to Rivian then.
Oh, big name.
Yep.
So we can see basically since just before the year ended, let's get an exact date for you. 22nd of December, we've just gone down, which is okay. And it actually presents us with an opportunity. Kaye will talk to you a little bit more about R2. Um, but from a chart perspective, I'd like to give my kind of thoughts here. So I'm going to switch out to the weekly because that's where I really like it.
Yep.
You can see larger term trend line. You could probably draw 3 or 4 trend lines, but this is the one I'm kind of stuck with. It's recently, as a weekly candle, kind of came back down and retested it, and subsequently moved higher alongside earnings. It was actually a couple of weeks after earnings that kind of made that move. And obviously it's come back down, which is, is what stocks do, of course. But if it comes down to 13, 14, that's where I get really interested to buying, more. It's the second highest position, no, third highest position in my portfolio now. And it's still green, which is good news. But it's obviously momentum wise, it's not doing so well, of course. And earnings are just around the corner. I think it's the 12th of February, off the top of my head, which of course I will be covering on my channel, as always. You could also, this is another interesting trend line there. So
Yeah. 12th
there
February.
is there is a case of buying it here now as well. There's no reason why you can't just start a smaller position if it wants to go long on it, of course, and you still believe in the kind of thesis behind Rivian, which I think we both do here. But yeah, I'm going to stop waffling about the chart. It looks good here, and it also looks good between 13 and 14. Yeah, what's your thoughts on Rivian this year?
Well, I think the technicals don't look great, but a lot to do has to with the profit taking. So a lot of you had a lot of traders getting into Rivian, especially with the massive inflow, and then they're taking profits, and that's why you see what 6 weeks of continuous decline. But leaving the technical on the sidelines, if we actually focus on why I'm interested from a long-term perspective on Rivian. So this is a massive position that I'm building for Rivian specifically, in terms of their bringing their mass market vehicle. If you have recently noticed that RJ, who's the CEO, and you can go check it out, the post that I did. So Kara Swisher, who is very well known in the tech sphere, right? She has covered Elon Musk many, many times. So she also interviewed RJ, and of course that is more marketing, more eyeballs on Rivian for folks who did not know what Rivian is. That's number one. Number two, as you see that as Tesla reported earnings, and if you have been a Tesla fan like most of us have been, Tesla is slowly retreating. Forget about Model X and S, they are discontinuing. Those were higher end vehicles, and I don't know how much Rivian is going to gain from them. But bottom line is, Tesla has moved away or focusing more on robotaxi, autonomous vehicle, and robots. So they don't really care much about the driving cars and you owning cars. They are getting into the whole Uber fleet disruption model. This is where I think in a long term there is really no other car company in the US that can fill the gap for Tesla. And I really think that the R2 launch, as long as they stick to the promises they have made, I think it could become, I'll go out on a limb and say they could become the best selling vehicle, at least in the US.
Not to mention the backup from Volkswagen, obviously the
Yeah.
Amazon partnership as well. So that could only, strike more partnerships in the future, perhaps, and perhaps more investment in the future as well. So there's definitely opportunity in that respect, not just with the R2 model and the kind of customer feedback side of things. So there's lots going for Rivian. I'm surprised actually at this price action. Are you surprised at this price action in the last what 6 weeks?
No, no, because this is pure profit taking happening here.
So
There's
the
so there's
the
nothing
rock big drop.
fundamentally. So there's nothing fundamentally that has changed,
No, no, yeah.
right? They did their autonomy day. They showed what's coming up on the autonomy, right? In March, what they showed that you will have the end-to-end hands-free driverless driving for Gen 2 vehicles. That's coming up in March. So all this is profit taking by traders. And I took some profit too, by the way. It's not just I'm just
Yeah, same.
buying and holding. I took profits too here.
Yeah, no, it's definitely going to be an interesting year for Rivian. As we mentioned at the top of this section, the earnings are on the 12th of February. There, I'll put it up on the screen with the vertical line. And as I mentioned, obviously I'll be covering that as I always do on my channel on that day. So go ahead and subscribe to me. But yeah, we'll move on to
Yes.
next
Next is PL. Actually,
PL.
Rivian is my one of my 2026 picks.
There you go. Oh yes, of course it is. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. What's the other one again?
Monday.
Monday. Yeah.
Dude, that's sad. I hope SAS recovers. Otherwise, that's going to be a disaster in the making.
Okay, so we've got a few PLs here. I'm guessing maybe Planet Labs,
I think so.
unless it's Platinum Futures, which commodities is a whole different board game.
I think
Since
it's
last
Planet
week.
Labs. I think it's Planet
Yeah,
Labs.
we'll go for Planet Labs then. If you can confirm that Golfing Fisherman Surfer, which still remains the best name.
Yeah.
But yeah, Planet Labs is what is Planet Labs? What's that mean?
Planet Labs does, let's see, so they construct and launch constellation of satellites with the intent of providing high cadence geospatial data delivering to customers through an online platform worldwide. So it looks like aerospace and defense industry.
It was Planet Labs. Yeah, cool.
Yep.
Yeah, this doesn't look good. We do have a bit of support here with the 20 moving average kind of coming in here, but also breaking the trend line, which isn't so wonderful. What does it look like on the RSI?
72. It's a little bit oversold.
I've got 54.
Huh? Oh, sorry, I'm on weekly. That's why. Yes.
I wonder what happened there. And then MACD is obviously turning over as well, so that could be a bit further down. In terms of where I would look to buy, of course, we do have the gap fill down here. That's a bit extreme. That's probably about another 45% drop. From there, we have previous highs way back in October of last year at 16. And that's pretty much the only two levels I'd be interested in. Maybe this sort of area, but not to start a position. Maybe if it came down and bounced kind of around 17, came up, traveled through there, that might be a good place to add to it for further price action. But yeah, I definitely wouldn't be buying it here, that's for sure. Are you in the same boat there, Kay, or are you looking for something else?
Same boat, but it only took this stock 8 weeks to go from 1283 to 2497. So technically you doubled your money in 2 months.
That's not bad going, is it? Obviously we did just mention the downside here potential, more so than the upside. What are your thoughts on kind of shorting these stocks? Would you short it with a stop loss maybe above kind of 29?
Yeah, you could do a call credit spread on this one. That's one way of shorting it. Where I think there's a clear resistance here. So about 28, 26, 20, 20 28, or maybe even 27.45 could be the limit. So you could short at that. Short meaning basically I'm not going to short naked short, but it's like a call credit spread where it's your risk is defined. So you will only lose whatever you put in as a credit.
Fair enough. So for me, I would just be shorting shares, obviously leveraged, of course. So that would be stop loss, similar sort of place as you, I guess, maybe slightly higher.
Yeah.
But then you start. That's about 20% stop loss, which is not okay. Yeah, I'll probably stay away from it, to be honest.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on.
Next is Microsoft.
So Microsoft.
Yeah. So interestingly, with Microsoft, actually, I ended up adding to my long-term position of Microsoft because it's such a beautiful dip that we got for 10%. I think the day that I had was 11%. So I think right now Microsoft is just going through what's the word? Today I'm forgetting the words. there's a narrative that's changing. Like Morgan Stanley came out and they removed Microsoft from their top stocks because Microsoft does not have their own LLM. Well, when did Microsoft had their own LLM to begin with? When Microsoft started running. I mean, I feel like they take us for a fool. Like, are we like idiots sitting here on, like, this is why retail is basically kicking their ass, is because if you just listen to these professionals, you actually start scratching your head, is like, what the hell is going on? Microsoft never had their own LLM. Copilot is completely built on OpenAI, and then now they're using Anthropic and all the other stuff. So anyways, I think it's still a solid business. There
Haven't,
is nothing wrong with Microsoft.
haven't they struggled monetizing AI though? That what you mentioned
I,
before,
I
wasn't it?
think Microsoft is going the same way. They're getting the same treatment as a typical SaaS software right now. So I'm not a big Microsoft software fan. I their products suck. They haven't done any improvements in a lot of their consumer facing products like Teams or Word document or PowerPoint or Excel. Like if you used the Excel version of 2012 or 10, it looks the same to me. But the bottom line is, because it is so good and it just works, people are using it at enterprise level. So there's nothing wrong with the business. I think another issue was that they were projecting, I forget the amount of growth for Azure, and the growth came a little bit from the expectation, was a little bit lower, still grew. It's just a reaction of the market. So great opportunity to add to your long-term position.
Yeah, while you were talking there, I drew a few lines as I do. 416 seems to be a point of interest for me. We've got a previous trend line set back in July of 2024. This is a weekly chart coming across the tops there. Obviously, we broke out from there in March of last year, coming back down to that level. Also, the bigger kind of line here goes from November to 2022. So, and also lots of volume at this sort of area, as you can see on the right side of the screen there. So there's
Are
3
you on the
points of
weekly?
confluence.
Are you on the weekly?
I'm on a weekly, yeah. So,
Yeah, because on the
um,
daily, they are starting to nibble at the gap fill.
okay, right, let's
Yeah,
jump into that then.
as we say, not all gaps get filled, but gap fill is a strategy, right? So
That's the gap
if
fill
you
there, isn't it?
yeah, if you
395.
don't want to, if you don't have a position and you're interested in, then I would watch this gap, and I would start to build the position, nibble away, not like go all in one go, because there's a good possibility that the stock could go down all the way to the 380s.
Yeah. That would be tricky to get out of that though. If we come back down to fill that gap, it's below the trend lines I've just mentioned there. So that could
Yeah,
be then act as resistance. So we could actually be going down even further, like you mentioned, perhaps 380, no, 367 actually. That's another
yeah, I mean,
gap there.
that's what I'm saying. So you don't deploy all your cash. If
Yeah.
if you invest like $10,000 in Microsoft, you don't deploy all 10,000 in one go.
So you so for me I would look at 416 as I mentioned, but then maybe perhaps start there, add at 400, add at 380, add at 360. Mad, isn't it?
Yeah,
That's how you start building positions for the future,
yeah.
everyone.
So they
Um,
Ken has a question for you, Sean. Before we
Question
jump
for you,
to the next
Shaun.
thing. Yeah.
From what you said last week, curious as to why you don't use Fibonacci's. I suppose that is a good question, really. I use trend based Fibonacci's for kind of new highs and obviously new lows if the stock's kind of trading down. But I don't use general Fibonacci's. Maybe I should. Maybe I should integrate them, but I do in a certain way of finding the 50% line. So this is my Fibonacci retracement. So from the point of control down here up to the highs. In fact, we can drag that down a bit. The 50% line is one of those that I kind of use from a day trading point of view, but no, I never really use it for swing traders. Not too sure why. I think it's more because I'm a bit more of I am a massive trend line trader. So that kind of works for me. I trade breakouts, and Fibonacci's aren't typically used for breakouts. But I see what you mean. The Fibonacci's could be used perhaps for target prices from the breakout. So maybe I could integrate that into my trading, or at least my analysis. Yeah, good point. Thanks, Ken, for bringing that up. I'm going to write
Next
that
is
down.
SLV. That's the Silver Trust.
Well,
Are
I
you
wondered
into?
if one of these was going to come up this week.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's a massive. Oh my goodness, that the drop. Holy cow.
Yeah, it went down almost 30% in one day. I think the maximum drop it was, draw it, shall we? So we closed there. The maximum drop was actually 34%.
Ooh.
So big drop in silver. We also had a big drop in gold as well. Let's bring up that side by side. GLD, that'll do.
If you look at the
Big drop in gold as well.
look at the RSI, it's like it's not even like going down like this. It's like it's a complete 90-degree, dive.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, some people, from what I've heard and then what I've seen on X, some people sold crypto because it was going down to buy silver and gold, only to result in more downside. So just don't chase stuff. That's my lesson here: is don't chase particular
Listen, if
moves.
if
If you see this
everybody is
move,
talking about it, you have already missed the boat. It's
exactly,
like
especially if it looks
uh,
like this.
it's true with any names, right? Whether when you start hearing about Palantirs or any name for per se Hood or whatever, right? You've already, if your grandmother and your mother and your neighbors are talking about a stock, you probably have already missed the boat. Let it go.
Exactly. Yeah, don't go chasing stocks. That's how you lose accounts. That's how you lose your net worth. But yeah, just amazing to see silver and gold move so dramatically, like a penny stock almost in the last couple of months really. And this is just 2 months price action from the beginning of December to where we are now. It's crazy. This commodity's just flying. Okay, we'll move on from that then.
Circle, CRCLE, Circle, right? Yeah. What do they do? I know this was a pretty high flying name when they came out.
So they only
What?
came onto the market June of last
Recently?
year.
Yeah, recently. What do they do? So they are financial services. Okay. Stablecoin blockchain. Okay, got it. Well, I think we know why, right? Why it's going down because the crypto market is in shambles.
It is, yeah.
Per our friend Tom Lee, Ethereum was supposed to hit 9,000 in January. It's sitting under 3,000 right now,
Well,
right?
I think he said Bitcoin's 180,000 as well, and it's down at 77, 78, something like that. I'm surprised no one's bought up Bitcoin actually.
Because
Because obviously the
crypto traders are not having fun right now.
no, that's true.
We are, the stock traders are in the same space. If you trade SaaS stocks, you are pretty much in the same boat. It's not like you're any different.
So just looking at this stock then, while we're here on it, Circle into Internet Group, we are almost breaking down the lows. So we obviously had lows on inception, which doesn't mean a huge amount in my opinion. But we came back to those lows and we kind of bounced off of them. So there's a little bit of support there. There's a little bit of interest at that level. And we've just basically come back down naturally to that level again, which is about 64-ish. So I wouldn't be trading this to the upside, that's for sure, unless we break this trend line, which still isn't even that solid of a trend line. So just be wary of that. Don't take my lines for gospel.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I would definitely think about lower lows here. But I won't be trading that. It's too early on the market. I like to wait at least probably 18 months when a stock kind of comes into the markets. You know, Airbnb took me a while to get into that. Rivian is a good example of that. It would have taken me a couple of years to kind of get into that.
Um,
But yeah,
you might want to pull up Ken's comment. And listen,
let's see it. Let's see
I
it.
don't disagree with that. It's like it's like just you have these betting markets also coming up. Like every single thing can be a speculation. So this is pure speculation. I agree. I mean, but you could also trade it to the upside once the enthusiasm returns in Bitcoin and Ethereum. And when Tom Lee starts making appearances and his hair starts going crazy. See, every time his hair is all set, meaning he has all the time in the world to fix his hair to come on the TV. That's when everything is down. And when he is too busy making money and he doesn't have time to fix his hair, that's when the market is doing pretty well. Anyways, that was a joke. Let's move on to Hood, the last one.
Last one of the day. It's been a great session today. We've had quite a few tickers that I've written down. Last of all, we have Hood. We have earnings just around the corner on February the 10th. So not this week, next week.
Yeah.
That'll be interesting to see what happens there. Because we're at quite an interesting point, actually. That Robinhood's obviously made massive moves within the financial industry in the last couple of years. We've seen that, reflected in the stock price. I mean, it's moved, just since December of last year, before even, from about 37 all the way up to peaks of 152. So it's a really outstanding return there for Robinhood. But coming to where we are now, obviously from the highs, we've come back down kind of 35%. Already had that line on there. Don't know what, I must have looked at this yesterday. Um, but yeah, coming back down to 99, breaking 100 to the downside. If we break down this lower, then I'd be very interested about kind of 75, 80. Um, just because, I don't know, actually, I think it's just because this volume profile. I think I remember seeing it before. That 70, 80 level was really interesting. I'm going to let you take the mic because I'm just kind of waffling now.
Yeah, yeah, no,
So
no
you
worries, no
go on.
worries.
Yeah, you go for
So,
it.
Ken has put the great options premium on Hood. I agree with you. I mean, I think an Hood from a long term position, or even from a swing trading position, I think I really like Robinhood. It's just at this point in time, because it's following this knife pattern. I'm trying to stay away from it. I think if we continue to see rejection at the 200 day, because 200 day it failed to break 200-day SMA two times. Let's see if it can continue doing that, and if the earnings come out a little bit softer, we could end up seeing prices in the 80s, and that's where the 300-day SMA starts to come in. So I think as the Hood starts, if it continues to decline, I would be more interested in actually making that premium. And I think for next week per se, let's look at the not the 6th February, the expiration 13th February. We are already looking at IVs of 70s, mid 70s, so you will get massive premium. So you could sell a CSP, but go lower delta, like a 20 or 15, to collect premium. And even for that, you will collect a good $100 or so. So like a $85 CSP, which is 14 delta, you're collecting $1.07 on it. That's pretty good. 2 weeks
I'm sure
out.
a lot of people would be interested in that for sure. Um, it needs to react here for sure in the next couple of days. If it breaks down below it, could be could be nasty heading into earnings.
Yeah.
Earnings will be obviously key as it always is, a binary event up or down. But I think price action in the next week and a half will be very interesting to have a look at. I won't be trading it. I don't think I'm just going to sit and wait. I don't really trade Hood that much at all. Actually, do you trade it much or not?
No, I am starting to get into trading with Hood, especially from option selling perspective. But I've only done it once so far, because I do trade couple times to get the hang of the cycle before I get. But when you are in a downward trend like this, I remember doing this with AMD, and it took my money got blocked for a long time. So I until we see some sort of like a range, it's like in this trading this range right now, it's still going down. I don't want to get into a option selling when the stock is going down. You have to stabilize before you get into that.
Awesome. Well, as we just mentioned, I think it's been a great session. We've covered lots of different stocks: CoreWeave, Viav, Rivian, tons of Robinhoods we just did, Palantir as well, kind of top of the section here. Yeah, it's been a really good session. Obviously, thanks for all of the comments that have kind of come in from Ken, Golfing Fisherman, obviously Man Ram as always, Money Manage. At the top of the show, we had a couple of requests from Ramesh as well. So, oh, and Justin. How can I forget Justin? And sorry, Justin. But no, it's been a great session. We covered a lot, as we mentioned. Obviously, be careful heading into this week. We've still got another massive amount of earnings with AMD, Amazon. I've forgotten half of the names already, but there's a
Uber,
ton.
SMCI, just massive week, I would say.
Yeah, so just be careful when you're trading up there. Not too much in the way of news, I think, apart from jobs data. So day trading might be a little bit easier, dare I say it, this week. But yeah, just be
I
careful when
think
you're
the,
trading out there.
the only other news I think that we will probably hear Monday is who is going to be the new Fed chair. I think that announcement is going to come.
Hasn't he already announced that?
Has he?
Yeah, I can't remember his name, but he's already announced that on Friday.
Well, was it like an official announcement, or is just like they have made it that he's going to be
Uh,
the one, but the official announcement comes? Maybe
I
you're
don't
right.
know.
Maybe I just
Yeah,
missed
I'm
it.
not sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, markets reacted to that. That at least if it wasn't real, it reacted to it. So yeah, Kay's got a good point there. When that news does officially drop, if it hasn't already, be careful with the market there. But yeah, that's it from us. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you to Wolf as well for actually the platform. We really, really appreciate it. Any final words from you here, Kay?
No, just enjoy the show. I'll see you guys next week. And golfing fisherman surfer, it's a wash.
Certainly is. Thank you very much, everyone. We'll see you next week, 1 p.m. Eastern Time, as always. Take care.